Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Atlanta Univ, and we're at the NCAA convention in Phoenix, Arizona. My guest today is Shani Idlette, and she is a student athlete from Atlanta University. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so usually I start my guests where you went to college, but of course you went to Atlanta University, right?
Yes, I did. I went ahead and I recently graduated in fall of 2022, and I received my bachelor's degree in psychology, and then I jumped straight into my master's program last year. So now I'm studying my master's in public administration with a concentration in human resources.
Wow, fantastic. So let's just go back in time before we get started on what you're doing here and everything. So let's go into high school. When did it all begin for you to start thinking about going to college? Was it freshman year, senior year? When did it all start for you?
Yeah, I mean, with me, I always knew I was going to go to college. I originally was going to go to college to play tennis. You know, all of my friends, they were going D1 and I was training every day. I was like, oh, this is so exciting. But then, you know, things ended up changing up a little bit. So I still wanted to go to college. But I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to do so. You know, I started applying to schools and asking everyone, like, hey, what am I supposed to do? Because I'm a first generation student. I didn't know anything about anything. I'm like, oh, FAFSA? What's that? I had all of these questions, but I did eventually have an opportunity to continue to play tennis at the Division II level. And that's been a blessing ever since.
Did you get recruited just from Atlanta, or did you go to other schools looking for you?
Yeah, there were different options, but I guess it just didn't align with what I was looking for at the time. So I was actually enrolled in two schools. I was enrolled in UCF for the summer, and I was enrolled in FAU for the fall. So again, I didn't know what I was doing, why I was enrolled in two schools. I don't know, but we ended up changing things last minute, and I had the opportunity to play tennis. So that's pretty much where I was at. Like I said, I had no prior knowledge. I didn't even know what I was going to study. I ended up choosing psychology, and that was because I had a psychology professor or teacher in high school that really touched me and you know, shared a lot of insight on psychology. I thought it was super interesting, but again, I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Wow.
Or where I wanted to go.
So now you pick the school, you get to Atlanta University, and what's the school like? Tell us a little bit about the school and where it is, where it's located, and a little bit about the surrounding area of the school.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I go to Atlanta University again, which is an HBCU in Atlanta, Georgia. I love my school so much. Like I said, it was a last minute decision, and honestly, going into college, I didn't have too much knowledge about HBCUs, but the minute I got there, I felt like I was loved by a family that I've known for years and years. They embraced me and welcomed me with warm arms. My teammates welcomed me with warm and open arms. And going to a school in Atlanta is even a greater experience than I could have ever expected, you know? I come from Fort Myers, Florida. That's where I was, that's where I'm from originally. However,
so going there and playing tennis was a big thing for you?
Yeah, it was a big thing, and that city where I'm from is a lot smaller city, but Atlanta is huge, and there's opportunities. You look left, right, you can do anything that you want.
Sure.
There's anything. So I love going to school in Atlanta, Georgia, and I feel like that really changed my life making that decision.
So now, as a freshman that goes to school there, give us a little sense of what a tennis player goes through. When did they start? Did they start in August of freshman year, September of freshman year? When does it all begin? Give us a year's worth of what a freshman's going to go through when they go to school there.
Yeah, okay, so your freshman year in August, you're going to get started. You're going to start your classes. And tennis is a spring sport, but we will start practices in the fall. So you're going to meet with your team every day, obviously, and you're going to have workouts. You're ultimately going to prep for the spring season, which is, it can be a little intimidating depending on where and what school you're at or how your team operates. But my team, like I said, they welcomed me and we all got along so well. I love that team so much. They were so great.
So
And
now you go to start in August. You go until November?
yes, we finish up. So it's going to be around August to November, right before finals. You kind of wrap it up with the team, and then you will start back in January after winter break.
Okay, and then from does that when the season starts in January?
So our season start, I believe matches can begin on February 1st.
Okay,
You'll have a couple of weeks to get back into it, practice with your team, of course, and then season will start, I believe, on February 1st.
and then it ends somewhere around May, April?
Yes, so in my conference, we end around the end of April. That's when we have our championships.
Okay.
And then I believe that the next step, which would be regionals, that begins in the beginning of May.
Okay, so now you're at the conference here at the NCAA. What are you doing here, and what are you getting out of it?
Yeah, so I'm here because I'm a part of National SAC. SAC is the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and there's National SAC, there's Conference SAC, and then there's Campus SAC, and so we are representatives for the entire Division II. There's one on Division I, II, and III, so
Okay.
I represent Division II. And we are here just to continue our meetings. We speak a lot about legislation, and I think the great thing about SAC is that the NCAA really wants to hear our voices, and that's mainly what we do. We represent the voices of all Division II athletes, so I think that's a lot of fun, and even we get to have a vote on the convention floor on Saturday about the new legislation that can potentially be passed, so I think it's really cool.
Is there NIL concerns?
Yes, and NIL is very new, so there's lots of conversations going on about that always. There's also, we have concerns about, mental health. We want to make sure that there's resources available for that, and as well as life after the game. That's a really big concern because, we spend so much time dedicating our time to our sport.
Sure.
So we don't necessarily have the time to, spend extra time with our professors or internships, or we might miss a career fair or all of these things. And it's like, oh, well, I was just practicing for my sport, but I missed out on this. So by the time you go to your senior year, it's like, oh, now what, right? Yeah. We're almost done with school, now what? So, we talk about a lot of different things in National SAC, and it's a great group of people.
So now we're coming to the end of our show, and usually I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to the parents and the students that are watching this? What advice do you want to give them?
The advice that I've used is use your resources, really look around and see who you can talk to that will make sure that you have the checklist that you need, which, do the FAFSA, financial aid, make sure that you're applying to the schools that you want to, and before you even apply, just make sure they have the program that you want. I think that's a really good step that some people miss because once they choose a school, they end up switching their major, and that happens very, very common. But just make sure you're doing that research to make sure that the school that you select is a really good fit for you.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.